Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing okay. My name is Lucille and today I'm bringing you my May and June reading journal update. Both updates are combined in one video not because I only read a few books, but I only filmed a few spreads. I felt myself really wanting to craft in peace away from the camera lately, and that's what I did for myself. So the first spread I'm showing you, and ignore the one on the right because chronologically it comes afterwards, is a half spread for the graphic novel series Sorceline. It's a French graphic novel series. I'm not sure if it's been translated into English. In May, I was at a library conference, and at the main library where it was set up, they had a little French section, and I haven't been able to read any French graphic novels since I moved to Canada, so I was really excited to have a few volumes of this series I had already noticed before. It's fantasy. Sorceline wakes up and she goes to this special academy where she will learn how to take care of magical creatures. I liked the universe where the series was set, but I was a bit disappointed because I've been used to something else from this publishing house. This was really kids level, I'd say 8 years old. A lot of stuff were happening pretty quickly and I was fine reading it because it was in French. It was fun reading a graphic novel in the French format, but I'm glad I read it at the library and did not buy it. I would have read more volumes if there had been any because I wanted to know the solution to the mystery, but for the spread I had nothing to say that would have fit in a 2-page spread and not in a 1-page spread either, so I did a half a spread. I'm not sure if they've done half a spreads before in this reading journal, but it's a format I really like because you can still decorate it and you can still talk a bit about the books, but you don't have to just invent stuff to talk about. For the decoration, I used 2 stickers from Journal Say. I used this half a butterfly that was left from something else, and I felt that the colors went really well with the first volume of the series. I think I should have layered it with a volume that had more red maroon color, so it would be more of a contrast, but I still think it's pretty. I also added this sticker of a branch with some lanterns because the colors and the vibes went well with the other covers. For the titles, I used my label maker, and I also used it for the second half a spread I'm doing right now for the short story Home by Martha Wells. It's a short story set in the Murderbot universe. I was really excited to read it. It's set after volume 4 in the series, and I must say I was a bit disappointed when I started reading it because I thought that Murderbot would be the narrator, but in fact it was Mansa. And if you've read the first volume, this won't be a spoiler. She's a character in that volume, and it was interesting to see Murderbot from her point of view and to see their relationship and how Murderbot acts and how you can see them from the outside. But it was such a short story that I didn't really see the point of it. Now the spread I'm doing is the second spread in that double page. You don't have the spreads I've just done on the left because chronologically I did this one first because I wanted to. And I find it less confusing when I'm editing to have the spreads done in the order I read the book, but maybe it's more confusing to have to do something that was already done in the clip before. I don't know, just tell me in the comments. The spread I'm doing is for, I want to say volume 6 of the October Daye series by Shannon Maguire. It's an urban fantasy series, and when I was talking about at the beginning of the video about doing spreads off camera, I had done the spreads for volumes 1 to 5 off camera, and you will see them in the flip through at the end of the video. And I absolutely adore I really love the spreads I did for the first volumes of the series. It's very simple. I had so much space to write about the series, so yeah, I'm very happy about it. October Daye is a changeling, and in Shannon Maguire's universe, a changeling is not a fairy creature that's been put into place as a replacement for a human baby. It's a being that's born of a fairy parent and a human parent. And all of her life, October Day has been told that she's a very weak changeling, and there's a lot of discrimination against changeling in the fairy realms. And she's had to make her own way as a PI, and we start the first volume with her following a guy that enchants her and that curses her to be a fish. And she stays a fish for 12 or 14 years, I don't remember. And suddenly she's human again. So obviously when you stay a fish for 14 years, it's quite traumatizing. She had a human family that she lost this way because she can't reveal that she's Fae. So that's how the first volume starts, and that's basically the first chapter, so I'm not spoiling anything. And when I read the first 2 volumes, I was interested, but I was quite disappointed because I'm not often absolutely sure what the twist of a book is going to be, and usually it's almost at the end of the book, or I'm still unsure enough, so I still want to read the ending. But for these first 2 volumes, I was certain of what the endings would be, and I was praying that these wouldn't be the twists because they were not super imaginative, but they were exactly what I had imagined. And you understand that these books were written when Shannon Maguire was 18, I think, so that's understandable, but it was still disappointing. But for some reason I still continued to read them. All the volumes I read either on Libby or as interlibrary loans, because if I had to buy them, I'm not sure I would have, because I wasn't really excited about it, but I was very curious about the universe. I love me an urban fantasy series set in the fairy realm. I find it fascinating. I love to see how authors incorporate folklore into their stories, and obviously Shannon Maguire knows a lot about fairy. She's weaving different mythologies into her book. She has Welsh mythology, Scottish, Irish, and I think it's really well done. What was funny is that in the first volume, the first guy that Toby meets, I'm like, he is really disagreeable, he's rude, he's gonna be the love interest. And lo and behold, he was. As the series progressed, Shannon Maguire kind of transformed him and gave him a reason for being so disagreeable at the beginning of the series. So he was less of the typical rude love interest that the protagonist still falls for some reason, and their romance developed into something quite sweet, actually, something I wasn't too used to in typical urban fantasy novels. Also, it's been such a breath of fresh air to read this series because it's not explicit at all after the likes of Bride by Ailey Hazelwood and Fourth Wing. Just having people not explaining every little detail of their intimate relationships was so great. Honestly, I didn't understand how much it's been bugging me reading those books, but it's okay to keep some things private, as I've been saying. And I didn't talk about the spread for this volume at all. The volume is basically steeped with poem Goblin Market by Christina Rossetti, and it's about goblins that have these magical fruits that if you taste them, you will basically die. But they're so pleasurable that you can't stop eating them. And Shannon Maguire incorporates those goblin fruits into her story in a really well done way. So I decided to use an illustration by Arthur Rackham about the poem. And I also added a quote from Goblin Market to the spread and some flowers. I opted out to use a classic illustration by Rackham because when I was typing fairy illustrations or October Day in Pinterest, I kept finding these AI pictures and I got so mad because I just wanted a nice fairy picture, but it's like almost every picture you find on Pinterest, there's someone that's commented, is this AI? Because we just don't trust anything anymore. So I was like, let's be safe and let's just use some classical illustrations. Now, for this spread I'm doing, it's for Lore Olympus, volume 1 and 2, the graphic novel that's a webtoon too. I, in fact, read all 8 volumes that have been published in a paper format. I only had read 1 and 2 and I wanted to do a spread right now because I knew I was going to continue the series quite quickly, and if I wasn't going to do a spread for 1 and 2, I would forget what I thought at the beginning of the series, and I love it when I'm so engrossed in a series I just want to read and not do spreads, but at the same time afterwards I'm disappointed because I don't remember individual volumes well enough to do a spread for each of them. So this time around I decided to stop a bit and do a spread for 1 and 2. And I loved doing that spread on camera. I was really happy with it. Lore Olympus is a graphic novel series that reimagines Greek mythology basically. And I wanted to use some illustrations from the graphic novel for my spread, which is a very easy way to add colors and movement to a spread. And the colors in Lore Olympus are quite bright and neon, so I thought that these cloud stickers from Journal Say would go well with it. I also fussy cut around an outline of the Olympus city and added another cloud to it, and I also used cover font for Lore Olympus as my title. I could have copied the lettering myself, but I just wanted to go very simple, and this was really nice. Lore Olympus reimagines the relationship between Persephone, goddess of spring, and Hades, the god of the underworld. If you know about the original myth, Persephone is captured by Hades and she has to spend 6 months in the underworld, and while she's in the underworld then there's no spring on earth, so that's why we have winter and autumn. Now this graphic novel series reimagined their relationship, and she is not kidnapped to the underworld, thank God. I read the trigger warnings at the beginning of the volume, but I was not expecting it to be as much as a love story as it was about Persephone getting assaulted, and I'm just tired of stories where the character's trauma and sexual assault is used as a plot device. I still read the whole series because it's fun. I like seeing the gods in this weird environment because in the series on Earth it's the Greek era, it's basically, 2000 BC, but Olympus is basically living in a big city like New York with phones and TV and everything. So that juxtaposition was fun, and the way she showcases the gods as being divas that just basically contestants in a TV show is basically how you see them, because they're being so dramatic, they're being so shallow, some of them, that it was fun seeing them trying to justify their weird attitudes with the mortals. But oh, I kidnapped her, and as soon as she decided to make decisions for herself, I left her because it was so sad. And you're like, dude. Anyway, I will read the last volumes in the series because I want to see how it ends. A new spread for my ABC challenge. I had set up such a spread in my previous reading journal, and in fact I set up that spread back in February or March, but I never found the correct time to put it on camera. My videos were always too long to add another 10 minutes of me setting up my challenge, so I've been keeping it in case for a certain update I didn't have enough spreads to showcase. I really like how I decorated that spread. I used the old pages of a music handbook because it had music notes on it as frames to put my book covers on. I also used quite a bit of Marigona Sulis stickers. I liked the way the colors went with the masking tape that I had used. Those strips of masking tape I had torn previously because I thought I was going to use them in a spread, but I ended up not using them. So I was really happy to find a use for them in that spread, and I really love how it turned out. It's fun adding covers to my ABC challenge. Basically, I just want one book per letter of the alphabet, and the last name of the author has to start with that letter. I don't really follow it super seriously. I'm not going out of my way to find an author whose last name starts with a Z, for example, but it's fun to sometimes see, hey, that book will go well for letter B, for example. It's just a nice, satisfying thing to add book covers to it, and if I ever finished one, because I don't think I ever finished an ABC challenge before, it would be fun, but if I don't, it's not a big deal. also wanted to update my book bingo, and you've seen me setting up that book bingo maybe in my January setup or my February one. It's a short book bingo where I have a few prompts that I tried to fulfill, but the same way with the ABC challenge, it's just a fun thing for me. It's not super serious. Here I'm coloring a few squares that I forgot to color in this past few months. I had to color reading outside because in March I was able to read on a bench because it was finally springish. It was finally not minus 40 degrees in northern Canada, so that was as soon as there was sun and I could read outside in my coat, I was like, baby, we are reading outside. I also read a non-fiction book and a middle grade novel. The middle grade novel was The Marrow Thieves by Sherry Dimelin, and I also had the Read in One Day thing with Home by Martha Wells. And I only have a few squares, a few prompts left. These ones I really care about, so I might make an effort to read them. Now you can see my cover page that I didn't show you setting up on camera, but I glued down the covers, write down some information the same way I've been doing this past few months. These first two spreads are for Exit Strategy by Martha Wells and A Dead Gin in Cairo by Paisley Clark. That were novella and short stories I did off camera. This is my October Day spread and I just love it. I did a 4-page spread because I had a lot to say. I used some little illustrations of fairies that were not AI, thank goodness. The illustrator will be linked in the description. So I hope you enjoyed this very speedy video. I feel like I've been speed talking the whole way and I still hope it was fun to listen to and to watch. As usual, tell me in the comments what you've been reading so far and what you would recommend to me. Thank you for watching and I'll see you next time. Bye!